Thanks for checking out this movie review video. So this is for the 2019 Child's Play remake, and did not have a very fun time with this one, but I was very much warned before getting into it, especially by your friendly neighborhood Uncle Pete, who was like, hey, you'll have a pretty good time going through the original franchise, but once you get to this remake, yeah. Definitely the lowest on my list as far as any Child's Play / Chucky stuff goes. Not really a good time. But I'll talk about what I did like, because there were a few good things, and I'll talk about what I didn't like, which is substantially larger. Directed by Lars Klevberg, who also did The Wall and Polaroid. Written by Tyler Burton Smith, who also wrote Quantum Break and Sleeping Dogs video games. Yeah, hasn't done a whole lot. I'm just gonna say up front, the dialogue was very poorly written in my opinion, and character interactions are not great because of how bad the dialogue was. Original director Tom Holland was supportive of Mark Hamill's casting as Chucky. That's the best thing about this film, to be honest, is that, well, I mean, I think the kid actors did a good job in their roles. But other than that, I think Mark Hamill doing the voice of Chucky, if you're not going to get Brad Dourif, which I first don't understand why they wouldn't go with Brad Dourif. It seems like a very natural fit. But I mean, he is separate. So I'm kind of, in the end, glad they didn't end up getting him to voice it, because he's still just fully associated with the decent Chucky stuff, as opposed to, unfortunately, Mark Hamill being associated with this bad Chucky stuff. But he did a good job. He did the best he could. I thought his voicing was quite good for the character, and he even, did a good job with kind of making subtle changes in the voice. So definitely casting Mark Hamill was the smartest thing they did for this film. Many people have cited a lot of references to the film E.T. in this. Probably the biggest moment being when his, Chucky's finger is lighting up when he's kind of controlling all the other Caslin electronic products, which we all knew was coming. As soon as in the beginning of the film you see the commercial kind of telling you all the things that this Buddy doll can do. Yeah. 7 animatronic puppets were actually created for and used in this film. That's a lot. That's a lot. So they put a ton of work into it, but segueing into my very first note as I was watching the film, my first thought is the Chucky design looks awful. His face is so big, he looks like Eric Stoltz from the film Mask. If you've seen that film, if you know about that film, you'll get my reference. He looks like the doll version of Eric Stoltz from Mask. Yes, the movie with Cher in it, which is actually a pretty good movie, but he just looks so weird. It was such an odd choice for making him look like that. His face is so gigantic, it makes absolutely no sense that you would design him that way. He doesn't look scary, he just looks goofy. He looks too weird and goofy to actually be scary at all, and that's where the problem starts with the film, because you immediately see that, and it's hard to be scared of something like that. Just saying. You already see what's coming when the Caslin commercial says how Buddy can do so much, tech-wise. Yep, already talked about that. The disgruntled worker taking off all of Chucky's safeguards is kind of a really lame way to kind of get things going to make this Chucky bad. I think obviously the original way with a serial killer who then does voodoo is much more interesting, and it also just imbues that character with just a natural desire to kill, whereas you have to build things in the story that they don't do a good job of with turning this Chucky bad just because his safeguards are off. Plus, it's doing too much in a scene, in my opinion, to be like, oh, this dude gets fired, he's pissed off, he takes off all the safeguards. Like, what was even the reasoning for that? You know what I mean? Like, wouldn't he just destroy something? Like, I get you can make the argument that he's, like, trying to bring a bad name to the company because maybe it'll go out and, like, harm someone. But is he really a person who wants to harm other people at that point? Like, I don't know. It just seemed like kind of a lame thing. I just don't think it works very well, in my opinion. The Andy character feels pretty similar to the original film, but his mother, Karen, played by Aubrey Plaza, does not. Actually, her character's not a very good character at all, in my opinion. She's pretty blah, like pretty blasé about having a child, about being a mother, about really even caring about her kid, other than just getting him a buddy doll. She seems to just kind of randomly walk into scenes. She's there and then she's not there, and it's really weird. Also, I don't really like the fact that the film is shot pretty much all at the apartment complex until the very end of the film when they go to Zed Mart. I don't know. It makes it feel too small, in my opinion, and it's I don't know. It makes you feel like you're also missing out on parts of maybe Andy's life that should be more delved into. Like, yes, they established that he's kind of alone and he doesn't have a whole lot of friends and he's bored and all that stuff. Yes, they established that well enough, but why not show that happening at school too? Because they shoehorn in a bunch of other weird things, kind of like Mike and his mother and their relationship and just their characters in general and how they fit into the overall story. And it's weird. Like, it doesn't jive, and it's, like I said, it feels shoehorned into the film. I just don't get it. It's very weird. Instead of doing that and just kind of like throwing some random characters in, including Shane, put in some characters who are developed at least a little bit, who kind of fit into Andy's life a little bit more. Like, I don't know, I think it was in Child's Play 2, like, we got a teacher being killed. Like, why not have that be one of the victims? Like, go to another location, show that Andy's having problems at school, and then the teacher gets killed because Buddy's there with him because she treats him poorly. Like, yes, it's kind of rehashing what happened in Child's Play 2, but it's a lot better than what was going on in this film, in my opinion. Andy has an attitude problem in this pretty early on because he has pretty much no patience for Chucky learning anything. He doesn't accept the fact, even though he figures it out very early, that this Chucky is a little bit of a blank slate, which is kind of the only way you can get him to become bad, which I think how the kids start like messing with him, trying to make him kind of bad, I think that actually works to a degree, but they kind of go with that a little bit too long, and a bunch of the other things that happen with Chucky just feel a little bit off. But that core idea was actually good. I just don't think it was executed the way that it could have been or should have been, honestly. But yeah, Andy's attitude like sucks from the beginning. I didn't really like him in the beginning. I didn't really like many characters in this film, but I end up actually liking Andy because he grows on you. His character gets stronger and better and more sympathetic as the film goes on. He just seems like a moody, grumpy kid who you have a hard time caring about early on. But yeah, it gets better. Chucky going from acting passive to strangling Andy's cat is a big leap. Mainly because this is before anything bad is really taught to Chucky. So I understand that they're kind of like giving you that little hint that something's off, but we already know that based off the safeguards being taken off in the beginning. And if it happened after the kids were messing with him, that would have made more sense, but it happens before the kids start messing with him and trying to make him bad, and it just doesn't make sense. Like, where is that coming from? Just because the safeguards are off doesn't mean he's inherently violent, or he inherently wants to kill things, or he even knows what strangling a cat would do, because he's pretty much a blank slate from the beginning. He wouldn't even understand that concept at that point unless he's shown it. And we see that when they're watching Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, and then he goes and picks up the knife and he starts like reciting lines from the film while he's kind of holding the knife and acting like he's going to stab people. Just saying. Very believable that crappy kids would make Chucky do bad things. And a horror movie like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. For a device like this, those things are believable, like I said. Those were good ideas. I just don't think they were executed all that well, unfortunately. Chucky standing in the dark with glowing eyes, those glowing blue eyes that did look really good, and then playing the distressed cat sounds, very creepy. That was one moment in the film I thought was legitimately scary, legitimately creepy. But other than that, you have a hard time finding it in the film. Like, a lot of it's just not there, and especially because Chucky just looks so goofy. I can't be scared of this goofy-looking dude. This Eric Stoltz doll. I don't get it. Karen and Shane are such bad characters who seem to barely interact with each other, and they're usually just finishing up having sex. That's another thing. I don't understand why in so many scenes they're just finishing having sex or they're making out or whatever. Like, and they make Shane so unlikable. Like, they should make him likable somewhat, because then you'll care when he dies. And that's one of the biggest issues that I have in this film is they don't make that many characters that likable or even develop them enough for you to really care about them all that much past Andy, so that you really care when they're getting killed. Like, it becomes more of like let's just see these kills. That's not the point of a horror film. I mean, that became the point. Like, even when the Friday the 13th, early films came out, the point of it was not initially to, make people have fun with the kills. It ended up turning into that over time, but it's a horror film. We want to scare people. We want to horrify people. So it's just, I don't know. This film seems a little bit too self-aware to a point where it's hindering it in a sense. And they throw a lot of humor in there that just does not land at all. Like the whole Tupac thing, like, this is for Tupac. Like, where did this even come from? Like, it's such a random idea, and it's not funny. Maybe some people found it funny. I didn't. Shane's death is not too bad, I will say that, but I just didn't know how to feel about the Tupac line that they throw in there, because I was just like, oh, that's a pretty decent kill. And then they throw the Tupac line in the end, and I'm like, kind of soured the experience of that kill for me a little bit. But I liked the kill. The kill was good. He gets messed up by that, I guess it was like a tiller, like an automatic ground tiller is what it seemed like. I do like that Chucky gave Andy the present of Shane's face, but then where they take it after that is stupid. It was cool that his, skinned off face showed up in Andy's room. I think they should have gone more down the path immediately of making it look like Andy had done something. That would have been more interesting. It would have been more in line with the original franchise. But they just do this weird thing where he's like trying to hide it, and you're like, oh, okay, I kind of get that. But then they do this dumb thing where like they wrap it up like a present, and they say that Mike's mom helped him with some stuff, and he's going to give him this present. Like, it's this whole thing, this whole road that we don't need to go down. It's very uninteresting. It seems like a side quest that's just kind of taking us away from the actual pacing of a film. And it's dumb. It's dumb. There's no way an HVAC system would go up to 140 degrees. That said, the janitor's death is pretty solid. I did like how he kind of falls on the bandsaw and gets cut up, and you see the severed limb and everything. Like, that's good. For the most part, practical effects look good. The gore, good amount of gore, so I like that about it. But yeah, like when he's holding on to that steam pipe and Chucky cranks the heat all the way up to 140, HVAC systems don't go up to 140. There's no way. And Chucky couldn't override that. There's no way. Just because his safeguards are off don't mean that the safeguards of the other items are off. There you go. Plot hole. Everything with Mike and his mother just seems shoehorned in. Actually, I'm going to go back because it just occurred to me. Literally, the entire final scene could not happen because the fact that Chucky's safeguards were taken off in the beginning shows you there were safeguards so he wouldn't have this problem. So how is he able to override the safeguards of all those things? That does not make sense. They would have safeguards, so that stuff never would have happened. Just saying. Plot hole. Anyway, everything with Mike and his mother just seems really shoehorned in. I kind of already talked about that. The motivation for Chucky to go after everyone in Andy's life is thin. It's not very believable. It's kind of thin. It's just literally like, you're, I'm not your best friend anymore, which, like, that's what he's supposed to be living for. But at the same time, he's learning all sorts of other things. So he's gone so far from his original programming at that point. And that's, like, for some reason, the only piece of him that matters anymore that he holds on to is being a friend. Like, you feel like he would just kind of go off on his own at this point and then just be focused on killing or something like that. But I don't know. Just being like, I'm going to get rid of everyone in your life because I'm not your best friend anymore. Like, I don't know. It seems lazy. I didn't really like that. This is why, like I was saying before, it was a much better idea in the original to have the soul of a serial killer in the body of Chucky, because they're just bad. They just want to kill. They don't need motivation at that point, and it's believable. In this instance, you need to create some sort of motivation, and it's not believable, and it's kind of dumb. To try and make Andy's friends matter more towards the end of the film is weird, because they didn't lay the groundwork for them to be more substantial characters, especially because they're not fleshed out at all. The only thing fleshed out about those three other kids is that they weren't friends with Andy, then they were friends with Andy, they made Chucky do bad crap, taught him some bad things, and that's it. Like, we don't really know anything about him. So it became just this really weird feeling when they're trying to make them more of substantial characters towards the end. I don't know, it's very odd. It's just, the script seems kind of unfocused, in my opinion, when it comes to those types of things. The manager gets stabbed and he just staggers around for a bit. That does not make a whole lot of sense, but I did enjoy that once he takes that giant fake Chucky head off, the blood, the amount of blood, and that's what I was saying. Practical effects good, the amount of blood and gore, nice, like it. So that was a really nice moment, one of my favorite moments in the film, probably. Drones can kill people. Also, the new Buddy dolls have super strength. I don't understand. So, once again, they would all have safeguards. We already covered this one. A drone goes and slits a dude's throat open and kills him. No, that's not a thing. It's literally not a thing. And then for some reason, the new Buddy dolls have super strength, because there's that one where the guy's trying to get away from the one. He like comes out of the one aisle at Zedmart. He's crawling, and then he gets pulled back, and then he gets killed, and then that like bear variant of Buddy, like peeks out and starts coming at him. So they're insinuating that bear Buddy pulled the guy. How does this have super strength all of a sudden? None of this makes sense. There's a lot of stuff just thrown in because, and it makes no sense. Especially for a film that's trying to make sense of how Chucky becomes the way he does, and trying to make sense of like technology and how Chucky would be able to interact with the technology. There's a lot of stuff they ignored that does not make any sense. So either you're trying to make it make sense, or you're not trying to make it make sense. I don't know. Real stupid how Mike gets taken out kind of easily. Obviously, he pops back up at the end, but that's also kind of stupid because he just like shoots Chucky once, and it's like, okay. I just, I like the actor who was the character of Mike. I just felt like the character of Mike felt odd that he was there. He felt very shoehorned in. It's a weird premise to be like, oh, a police officer's mother just happens to live down the hallway from this kid who gets a killer doll, and then he's working those cases. Like, it's such a weird, it's weird. And then he's like trying to be his friend in an odd way. I don't know. It's very weird. Pretty stupid how that Buddy song delays Chucky trying to kill Andy. I know that they have established at this point that there's like this friendship thing that he's still trying to hold on to. I don't understand that. But then he's doing the Buddy song, and he's just like, stops him for a minute. I mean, smart on Andy's part, but it just, I don't know, it just felt weird. It felt lazy to me, again. Ending's lame. Did not like it. Didn't feel like it had enough danger to it or anything. And I think a lot of it comes from what I was saying. Like, I don't really care about the characters. The characters aren't fleshed out all that well, or you just don't even like them, Like, the only likable character in this film, I mean, Mike's kind of likable, but he seems like he's shoehorned in, and Andy's the only, like, real likable one past that. Everyone else is just kind of crappy or blah. I don't know. I like how they leave it open for a sequel at the end, but there's absolutely no way that would get greenlit because people historically hate this film. I mean, there are people I know who actually like it or think it's decent or whatever, and that's totally good. It's just, overall, it didn't do that well at the box office. It didn't get great reviews. It's not, there's never going to be a sequel. So I just saw that. I was like, it's never going to happen. Again, Mark Hamill's voice acting, very good. Dialogue, not good. The interactions feel forced and odd a lot of the time because of how badly that dialogue is written. The directing... Okay, so here's the thing. Early on in the film, the directing was very basic. It got a lot better towards the end of the film. It's just kind of this weird thing where, like, you're just like, yes, this is just, like, serviceable, very basic directing going on in cinematography. And then as it got towards the end, it actually got better. So I was like, okay, interesting. I do like how the lighting was handled in this film. Throughout the film, I think they did a really good job with the lighting. I know it's something kind of weird to kind of focus on, but it's an element of the film. And when you notice something like that, it means they did it exceptionally well. And they did. Especially when they were having a lot of the darker scenes. They would always have some sort of like interesting colored lighting in there that I really appreciated. So they did an excellent job on the lighting. This is yet another one of those films in the pantheon of the warning you against technology and AI will probably kill you type thing, which I wouldn't be surprised if we start seeing a lot more of those types of films. I know Megan is probably that, which I will be watching that and reviewing it at some point, but yeah, it's just another one of those watch out because technology could kill you if you don't keep a close eye on it, basically. But obviously, I didn't like this film. Not a lot to enjoy for me personally. Out of 5 stars with half stars in play, I'm going to give it 1.5 stars. I thought about giving it 1 star. Just know I was right there. 1 star, 1.5 star, I'm right in there. But 1.5 stars, I'm being a little bit generous. But yeah, it's definitely my least favorite Chucky anything. Yeah, so that's unfortunate. But anyway, thanks everyone for checking this out. If you want to give me your comments on what you like or don't like about the film, go ahead and put it down there in the comments. Do me a quick favor, though. Hit subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I would greatly appreciate it. It's your best way to pay me back if you like any video I've ever put out, including this one. And also hit the notification bell button because then you'll know when I'm putting up new videos, which I'm doing a pretty good amount. It's like 3 to 4 a week at this point. So, yeah. But thank you very much for taking your time to watch this video. And until next time, keep it brutal.